Welcome to this session AIM 215 Intelligent Document Processing, Extract Data and Insights from Document. I am Mona and I am AIML Specialist SA here at AWS. And I'm joined here today with Sandeep Mistry, who's a Senior Machine Learning Engineer at Ascent Compliance. Together, we're going to talk about how AWS services and solutions can help you get started with automating your existing documents quickly without any prior experience in machine learning. This is a 200 level session and not a technical deep dive. We will cover high level of services and solutions for this use case. And in case you want a deep dive, we are going to provide resources at the end of this session to help you get started. Talking about the agenda, we will cover why we need to automate document processing. We're going to look at what makes this use case so complicated. Then we will talk about how AWS solutions and services can help you with this use case. Lastly, Sandeep is going to talk about how Ascent Compliance has solved problem for understanding documents using AWS AI/ML services. Talking about current state of documents, we all know that document is very important tool for communication, collaboration, and record keeping among organizations. Moreover, the document itself can be in various formats, languages, and sources. For example, you have emails in French, you have your tax form, so on and so forth. Moreover, these documents are in silos and not in one place. So in case you would like to search something within these documents, it becomes really challenging to do so. Lastly, they are growing in number every year. Just to state the growth of documents, according to Gartner research, organizations worldwide has recorded a 25% growth in uses of paper each year. So we kind of figured out why documents are important. Then the question is, why do we need to automate these documents? Documents has a lot of information which impacts your life, my life, and your business lives. If you are able to extract the critical information trapped within these documents, you can do many things such as search, automate your existing business processes, and you can implement compliance and control. Let's talk about some of the ways people are processing these documents today and its challenges. The first approach is, guess what? A good old human being. We look at a document, we go in, key in all values into an application, and when hit save, that's manual processing. We all know that extracting text manually is time consuming, error prone, and expensive. Second approach most organizations are taking is using traditional optical character recognition or rule-based systems to extract text. Well, that's awesome, except that we found that it is extremely limiting, as these rule-based systems are not intelligent enough and they break with format changes. Third approach is using machine learning. There are not a lot machine learning practitioners today. And even if you have those, the challenge is having a large label data set. 80% of time is spent in just data labeling, right? And even if you got your perfect model, the challenge is to deploy that model in production and scale it to process millions of such documents. Lastly, most of the machine learning applications requires human to review low confidence predictions to ensure that results are correct. But we all know building human review systems can be time consuming and expensive because it involves implementing complex processes and managing a large group of reviewers. Let's see how AWS can help solve some of these challenges. We identified the problem of understanding documents into 3 simple steps of extracting text from documents, then getting insights from this extracted text, and lastly, having a human oversight in between these processes, or you can have it after the process. And AWS AI services can help with these steps. Let's quickly understand what is AWS AI services first. So if you look at our AI/ML stack, it's broken down into 3 layers. In the top layer, we have our AWS AI services. These services makes it really easy to incorporate AI into your applications. Why they make it easy? Because they are pre-trained models without you having to build and train algorithms. You do not need any prior machine learning experience to get started with these services. They are just APIs where you send a request to perform AI operations such as convert speech to text, convert documents to text, and you get a response back. It's as simple as that. We are going to focus on these AI services today, which is Amazon Textract, Amazon Comprehend. We will also cover Amazon Augmented AI, which is a part of Amazon SageMaker or middle layer of the AI/ML stack. Let's talk about how we can help you extract data from documents, which is the first step of document understanding. Amazon Textract is a fully managed machine learning service that automatically extract text from documents. Some of the key benefits of Amazon Textract is, first, Amazon Textract can help you extract data quickly and accurately because it's built for scale and can help automate document workflows, enabling millions of document pages to be processed in hours rather than weeks. Second, it reduces the manual effort that you would have to do with any kind of template development. Why it reduces the manual effort? Because Amazon Textract does not use templates, rather it uses machine learning under the hood. Lastly, it's cost effective. So we covered all the three benefits. Let's talk about how Amazon Textract works. All you need to do is send the document to Amazon Textract APIs, and these documents can be either images or PDF. Amazon Textract will give you a response back in the form of detected text along with the confidence score. Talking about some of the key features of Amazon Textract, not only it extracts text, but it's also a smart system which is very useful when you are working with documents having multiple formats. For example, in case you are working with like a 2-column report or a request for proposal documents which has multiple segments, Amazon Textract will give you the pages, the paragraphs, along with the lines as well as word. Also, it will give you the exact positions of these words, paragraphs in the document, which is very important for context. Another key feature of Amazon Textract is that it has the intelligence to segment documents to understand where there are forms or where there are tables. And in case of forms, it will give you the key value pairs within the forms. And in case you have invoices or receipts, you can use Textract APIs to detect tables from these. And not only it will give you the table, it will also give you the cell, row number, and column level information within these tables. Moreover, documents can be in different languages. Amazon Textract supports multiple language. Another very common challenge customers have faced with document understanding is that we have documents which has multiple formats such as handwritten content along with the typed content. And these documents, for example, can be employment application or medical intake forms. So this brings us to another key feature of Amazon Textract, which is handwriting detection. So Amazon Textract can help detect handwriting from these documents. Lastly, you can integrate Amazon Textract with Amazon Augmented AI to bring human in the loop to review the extracted data, which has to be highly accurate for you. For example, SSN number or invoice amount, which is a critical information and needs to be highly accurate. It's more like you have your first pass of getting text from these AI services and then using humans to double check what AI has predicted for you. All right, we talked about how Amazon Textract can help you extract data from documents. This data is unstructured data, and there is a lot of potential sitting in your unstructured data. The question is how to get it. Amazon Comprehend is going to help. Amazon Comprehend is a natural language processing service which will help you find insights and relationship in any unstructured data. Similar to Amazon Textract, it requires no machine learning expertise to get started with, as these are just APIs and any developer can use it in their applications. How Amazon Comprehend works: you provide input text, which can be emails, chat, or it can be the text or data extracted from Amazon Textract. Amazon Comprehend has pre-trained models which can identify various types of insights from the text. These insights can be entities such as places, people, brands, or events. For cases where you have text in different languages, it determines the dominant language of the text, extract key phrases, understand how positive or negative the sentiment of the text is, it does topic modeling for you. It will classify the text, and it will also help detect, redact, and mask personally identifiable information or PII data from text. Another advantage of using Amazon Comprehend is that you can perform all of this at limitless scale without spinning up any servers. You can also bring your own data and use Comprehend custom AutoML capabilities to build a custom set of entities using Amazon Comprehend custom entities, or you can perform document classification using Comprehend custom classification that are tailored uniquely to your business. The advantage of using Comprehend custom is that you don't need a very large training data set to get started. Customers always ask about data security while using these services. So security is our top priority, and you can use Amazon Key Management Service to encrypt and decrypt the documents to ensure security. You can also use AWS Private Link to access Amazon Textract Comprehend APIs securely within your own Amazon Virtual Private Cloud. Lastly, for customers running workloads which require compliances, these services follow a broad range of compliances, and for more information, you can check our compliance website. Now let's understand how we can have the human oversight in document understanding. Amazon A2I is a service which provides built-in human review workflows for common machine learning use cases such as content moderation and text extraction from documents. So some of the key benefits of using Amazon A2I is that it can help you easily implement human review workflow, because we provide you with 70 different UI templates to get started quickly using these pre-built workflows for various use cases. Second, you can really put your models into production very fast, as A2I reduces the time to market. Why it reduces the time? Because even if your model is not up to highest standard, you can still put it in production knowing that there is a human backdrop to catch the low confidence results of your machine learning model. Third is the flexibility to use multiple workforces. We provide you 3 choices here. First option is Amazon Mechanical Turk, which is on-demand 24/7 globally distributed workforce. In case you have really sensitive data and you want to keep your data within your organizations, you can use the second option that we have, which is a private workforce option. And lastly, you can also use various vendors through AWS Marketplace. Another benefit is that you can integrate A2I with any custom machine learning model, and we'll see that in a bit. Lastly, it helps increase worker efficiency. Talking about how Amazon A2I works, your client application sends input data into your machine learning model. Now, this could be any custom machine learning model, or this could be Amazon AI services like Amazon Textract or Amazon Comprehend. And once the model makes a prediction, 2 things can happen from here. If you see the third step in this workflow, in this scenario, you can directly use that prediction in your client application. Or in case of a low confidence prediction, which is the bottom step in this workflow, you can define a threshold to kick off an A2I workflow automatically, and that will send the low confidence predictions for human review. And these reviewers can be your private workforce. And once it's reviewed, you can consolidate the results into Amazon S3 into a single answer. And from there, it can be consumed by the client application. Another important thing A2I can help you is that it helps you with continuous model improvement with your custom models. And how it's going to help that you can combine your results, which is your A2I data, and combine it with your existing training data set and retrain your model. Lastly, putting it all together, we covered Amazon Textract, we covered Amazon Comprehend and Amazon A2I. Now let's see how we can combine these services in an architecture to create a serverless, scalable document understanding pipeline. So you can think like you have documents, and it can be mortgage documents, legal documents, or financial documents. You use Amazon Textract APIs to extract text from these documents, and it can be done both real time and batch manner. And for highly accurate results and for validating stock codes or invoice numbers from Textract, you can set up a human review loop using Amazon Augmented AI. Then you can send this data to Amazon Comprehend to extract insights, such as comprehend custom entities. You can perform sentiment analysis, or you can classify these documents or organize based on topics. So there are so many things you can do. Moreover, you can set up a second human review loop to review low confidence predictions from Amazon Comprehend. Now you can do many things from here. First thing you can do, you can index all of the text and insights you have received from Textract and Comprehend, and you can send it to Amazon Elasticsearch. And in case these documents are your archives, all your archives are searchable now. Second, you can store this text in or insights into any relational database or data warehouse like Amazon Redshift, and you can start deriving business insights using SQL queries. And lastly, you can also implement compliance and control. Moreover, you can use AWS Lambda functions and Amazon Step functions to orchestrate all of this workflow in a serverless manner based on your use case. To see some of these architecture components in action in a demo, I'm handing it over to Sandeep now.
Hi, I'm Sandeep Mistry. I'm a machine learning engineer at Ascent Compliance. And Ascent Compliance helps companies collect and manage the supply chain data they need to conform to changing global requirements. The platform consists of three components: corporate social responsibility, product compliance, and vendor management. Corporate social responsibility allows you to see how your company is doing in regards to operations for conflict minerals, human rights, anti-bribery and anti-corruption, and sustainability. Next up, product compliance. So this allows you to check if there's anything in your products that is present that should not be, and what to do if these substances are present. So there's various regulations that this applies to. So this would include REACH, EU and Medical Device Regulation, RoHS, and the EU Waste Framework. And finally, vendor management. This allows you to measure how your company is doing in regards to trade, and if you can have a more effective supply chain. So we have many different types of customers in different verticals. For example, aerospace, electronics, medical, automotive, industrial equipment, retail, and oil and gas. So the first area Ascent applied machine learning to was for intelligent document analysis. So we're currently collecting 20,000 documents a month from suppliers around the world on behalf of our customers. So if you're a customer of Ascent, and you would then upload your product part list to our platform along with your supplier's contact details, then Ascent can campaign on your behalf to ask your suppliers for the relevant documents needed. So we're currently collecting documents on RoHS, which is the restriction of hazardous substances. It's a regulation you need to comply to if you're selling products in the EU. Then again, for the EU, there's REACH, which is the registration, evaluation, and authorization of chemicals. This is another regulation that applies to EU. Then in the US, there's a Dodd-Frank Act, Section 1502, in regards to conflict minerals. And then more specific to California in the United States, there's Proposition 65. So we're collecting over 20,000 documents a month from suppliers, and we can't have humans read them all, so we wanted to apply machine learning to help aid this process. So let's go over a sample document now. This one is going to be about REACH, and it's just an example. There's no structured format for REACH documents, so it's free-form text. So on the first half of the document, we have the company letterhead. We would like to check if one is present or not. And also on the first half, there's some company contact information. So here you can see an address, a telephone number, and a website link. Since this document is in regards to REACH, we'd like to find some legislative reference to the REACH regulation. So you can see it highlighted in orange. If that's not present, then it's not a good document for REACH. REACH also has a new revision every 6 months, so we'd like to see a date of reference to see what version of REACH this document is conforming to. Then on the second half of the document, in this case, there's a list of part and product references, so we'd like to extract those. And then we'd also like to know if there's a human signature or not present. And then there's a date for the document. So this is different from the date of reference. This is the date the document was made. And specifically for the REACH regulation, this needs to be within 18 months. They're blurred out for privacy reasons, but we'd also like to extract the name, phone number, title, and email address from the company representative. Now I will give a demo of our sandbox area where we show progress and new features to our stakeholders. Our goal is to extract and verify information from a document within 15 seconds. We understand that mistakes can happen, like an incorrect file being uploaded by a supplier. Ideally, these mistakes will be corrected while we have their attention. I've just dragged in 5 documents for our system to analyze. Okay, so in this graph, we can find a summary of the regulations that were found in these 5 documents. And for more details on the document, we can click a row entry. On the left-hand side is the original PDF which I uploaded, and on the right-hand side is a summary of the features that our system found in this document. So in this case, no email address was found. However, the other features like signature, letterhead, part numbers, name, URL, address, organization, and phone number were found. So now let's walk through how this was built on top of AWS's services. In this slide, it's a high-level architecture view. There's not going to be any machine learning. I'll be going over that shortly. So first, we have a user with their document, and they're going to use their browser, which has the AWS Amplify stack inside, and we're using Amazon Cognito for authentication and authorization. So when someone starts a document analysis, the AWS Amplify SDK will communicate with our AppSync endpoint using GraphQL. This request will then get processed by an AWS Lambda, which will queue a message on an SNS topic for processing by a step function. This will do the heavy lifting inside. We'll go over this shortly. And then once the document has been analyzed, a message will be sent back to the AWS AppSync endpoint, which will then use GraphQL subscriptions to notify the user's browser of the result. So now let's go into the details of our AWS step function workflow. So on the left-hand side, we'll have the original document that was uploaded by the user. It's typically going to be a PDF. This is not something machine learning models understand, so we'd have to transform it into something they do. So we'll take each page and transform it to an image. Then to get the text from that image, we'll pass it on to Amazon Comprehend and get the text back. Humans can only process page one at a time, but we've optimized our step function workflow to process pages in parallel. So for example, if a document has 3 pages, we can process all 3 of these at the same time to decrease latency. So now we have the page as an image and text. We can apply image processing for one flow, and then at the same time, we can use text processing using services like Amazon Comprehend and get results from both of them. So once we have the results for all pages, we would consolidate them. So for example, in our use case, not every page needs to have a signature. It would be okay if the last page only had one. And then once we have the consolidated result, we can persist it to a database like Amazon Aurora, and then send the result back to AWS AppSync. Now let's look into how we process the image. So we'll have the image come in. We've managed to port the TensorFlow Lite Python runtime environment to run in a Lambda environment. So we don't have any servers for machine learning inferencing. This allows us to scale very well. There's no server costs, and we'll process the documents as they come in. So from the output of this image classifier, we'll have a score on the likelihood of a letterhead being present in that page and the likelihood of a signature being present in this page. Then we'll output the results. Processing the page as text is a bit more complicated. First, we'll use Amazon's Comprehend service to detect the dominant language of the page text. Our system currently only supports English, so if it is English, then we can pass it on to Amazon's Comprehend's entity recognition service to extract any company names and part numbers present in that document. And at the same time, we can use Amazon Comprehend's Personal Identifiable Information Service, PII, to extract any names, addresses, phone or fax numbers, email addresses, dates, and links in that text. And then this time we have a TensorFlow Lite text classifier model instead of image classifier, which processes the text and identifies the main legislations in that text, and we can output the results. Okay, so now I'll walk through how we built our custom classifier models on top of AWS's services. So we're going to have some unlabeled data. It'll either be an image as a page or a text as a page. Then we'll use Amazon SageMaker's ground truth service to get humans to label the data. So here's an example UI that one of our workers would do. Here, the page is presented as an image, and they can draw a bounding box around any letterheads or signatures that are present in this image. We currently have 250 workers internally labeling data for us, and we can also label text, as you see here, and the worker can select one or more of the appropriate categories that the text falls under. Okay, so now we have some label data. Now we can use AWS SageMaker's training instance to train a machine learning model. We have a custom NVIDIA Docker container with the AutoKeras library, which can build either an image or a text classifier for us. And once we train this model, we'll have a Keras model, which we then need to convert to TensorFlow Lite format to run in our Lambda environment. In the future, we'd like to integrate with Amazon AI service so we can get humans in the loop to when there are uncertainties in our model's predictions and get better accuracy. So we're very happy with our partnership with AWS. The project started off with 2 engineers, myself and Corey Peters, for the first 6 months. Then we were able to gain buy-in from our stakeholders and leadership team to grow and expand the project as well as the team size. In the future, we'd like to continue to retrain our custom models with newly human labeled data and also build new machine learning models based on input from the regulatory team. And as I mentioned earlier, we'd also like to integrate with Amazon AI to get better accuracy in the field when our machine learning models have uncertainty in their predictions. Then we'd also like to combine the positional information we get from Amazon TextRec with NLP. So for example, the document date typically falls in the first half or the second half of the page and not in the middle. So we can use the positional information TextRec to identify what type of date we need to use. So that's all I had. Now back to Mona to close things off.
Thanks, Sandeep. This is pretty innovative what you have accomplished with these services in very less time and with few engineers. Summarizing it, what we have covered is that we covered these 3 services to create document processing workflow, which you can use to automate multiple use cases. Moreover, another important thing is you can independently use these services. In case you just want to extract text, you can just use Amazon TextRact. And in case you just want to extract insights and you have unstructured data, you can just use Amazon Comprehend. And you can have a human loop set up with your custom models, or you can combine with any of our AWS AI services. Here are some of the references and resources to help you get started. So thanks for staying with us, and I hope you enjoyed this session today. Thank you.